Ever wonder how some people seem to make money from their credit cards while others are drowning in credit card debt? Well, by the end of this episode, you're going to know the 3 golden rules that we developed that have helped us ensure that we always win with credit cards. So stay tuned to discover how you can turn your credit card into a powerful tool for your financial success. Hey friend, we are Bob and Linda Lotich, the authors of Simple Money Rich Life, and you're listening to the SeedTime Money podcast. And we're in the middle of a 40-week series where we're sharing our 40-week checklist of all the action steps, strategies, and biblical insights we use to go from paycheck to paycheck living to reaching our biggest financial goal of giving away $1 million and living a life of true financial freedom. So if any of that sounds interesting or intriguing to you, you are in the right place.
You're in the right place.
And today we're talking about something that really pertains to this a lot, which is these rules that we developed for our credit cards. But I think we should start
Let's start with where we started.
Where we started with all this.
Particularly where I started. I'll go first. So I remember back in my very early 20s, maybe even like 19, 20, 21, somewhere in there. I was living in my parents' house still. They were, just taking care of everything. Like, I think my mom was probably still doing my laundry at this point. Like, I had a good cush life living in my parents' house. So I got a full-time job, and as I was working this full-time job, I was like, oh, this is exciting. I have some money to spend. How fun. But I did not have anything to back up the money that was coming into me. I had no, what would you say? Like,
Awareness
of how to manage it. Like, it was just money's coming in. What do I do now? Well, I just spend it. So that's where it took me.
And you realize it's easier to spend it than it is to earn it.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, at first I didn't realize that. I thought I'll just earn more. No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal. So one day I remember I'm in my parents' awesome kitchen making a sandwich out of ingredients that I did not have to buy. It's funny thinking about that now.
Now that we have kids.
Right. Now that we have kids. So I'm making this sandwich, and I look over to the landline that my parents had at the time, and I see the phone number coming in on this phone call, and I go,
Was your mom in the room?
My mom was on the room. I think she was, in her room. She was doing something. But I grabbed that phone so fast, run into my bedroom, close that door, run into my closet, close that door. Because I recognize this phone number. My stomach drops when I see it. And I'm like, I don't want my mom picking this phone number or this phone call up. I'm going to get it, and I need to go have privacy while I take this call. Because it was a debt collector calling me.
What was he collecting from?
It was a credit card. I don't remember the conversation. I don't remember what I said. I'm sure it was some sort of your checks in the mail type of situation. And I don't even really remember many of the details other than my heart beating so fast. My face was so red and hot. I felt like someone was sitting on my chest. I felt like almost like that trapped. Like, I would imagine this is how someone would feel with claustrophobia. I don't really have claustrophobia, but I would imagine it's the same sort of panic.
So how long had you had the credit card? Were there multiple credit cards?
I'm sure there were multiple credit cards. I probably only had one major credit card. Like, I might have had
clothing
like Gap
stores.
Or, American Eagle, something like that, because they're like, oh, well, you get to save
American
extra.
Eagle. You're dating yourself.
It's fine. I don't care. I don't
care. American Eagle used to be cool, honey. So, okay. So when do you think you got your first credit card? Was it when you turned 18?
It was probably around 18. Because again, like the financial education I had at that point was, well, you need a credit card so that you can build up your credit. Mm-hmm. They
Not
didn't
true,
say,
in case anybody's curious.
You need to pay it off every month to build your credit.
Oh my gosh. Some crucial information missed there.
I know, but that is what happened to me. Okay, I'm just sharing my story.
Yeah, for anybody who's curious, though, yes, having a credit card and paying it off each month is probably the fastest, easiest way to build credit, but that is not the only way. There are other ways to do it. And I think we've written about it on the blog. But either way, we can talk about it more if anybody's interested.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I just have this credit card. Again, I'm making money. I'm not really sure how to figure out how to put the pieces together of you're making this much, you can only spend this much. And I think that combined with, it's so much more complicated now, but just that combined with, well, I have this bill going out here and I have this bill going out here and then this.
A lot of moving pieces, yeah.
Right. It was just the amount of moving pieces. I just had not put together that puzzle. And I'm not a super... I am organized. It's just that I can follow a system really well. I have a hard time setting up the system. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah. I can follow the system, but setting it up is not my strong suit. And so I had not set up the system. And that was my problem. For me, that was my problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have this conversation. What makes it worse is that I think I've been avoiding these calls coming on my cell phone, but now that I've talked to this person, it'll be fine. I did not realize, I was just so young and naive that I didn't realize they would continue to call until this problem got fixed. So the next day I go off to work thinking, I got that taken care of. A little snarky. And I come home and my mom's like, well, I got an interesting phone call today. And I'm just embarrassed, but also trying to play it cool and just be like, Mom, it's totally under control. I'm totally fine. Even though I wasn't. And I was just embarrassed. I was upset. And I was thinking about this. The thing that I prayed was, God, can you send me someone who is good at math? Meaning,
Here I am,
can I marry someone who's good at math? And then my knight in shining armor came, which is true. But I'm not the only one that has prayed that prayer. And not everyone marries Bob because clearly I won the prize.
I got a really great question.
Which is great. But hold on.
Okay.
But this is why we're here. And hopefully this is helpful to people. Everything that we do is helpful to people. And that's why we share what we share, because I feel like you do a really good job of telling anyone listening, anyone who wants to listen, what you would tell your little sister or what you would have told me in that position, So you do have a Bob. Do you know what I'm saying?
Great.
If you don't actually have one in your life already,
just keep listening to the podcast.
just keep listening.
Hang out.
Yes.
So anyway, I think this just illustrates the potential danger of a credit card, of which, I had a similar story. It's not as interesting, but yes. I mean, I found myself in much of credit card debt at that point.
I think yours is interesting, having only $7 and your friends were coming in from out of town. No, they've all heard that story.
Yeah, but the point is that, we both started out in that place where credit cards were not an asset to us. They were a significant detriment to our finances.
Yes.
And so we just didn't use credit cards for a long time. I think the first 7 years of our marriage, we just decided we're just going to use debit cards. We just got ourselves in trouble with credit cards.
Right.
And that is a great plan. So just the fact that we're talking about credit cards this upfront, that's a great plan. And I think one of the most important things is to know yourself and to be honest about where you are and your weaknesses. And I always talk about credit cards in the context of a metaphor of them being like chainsaws, because it's you need to know yourself that you're safe with a chainsaw or you don't use one.
Right.
It's I wouldn't let our 10-year-old son run in the backyard with a chainsaw.
He would want
he's
to,
not
though.
He's not ready, and he probably does want to. But if I trained him how to do that, I could get him to the point where I feel like I'd be comfortable with that for him, But credit cards are dangerous in that regard. At the same time, I so much rather if I had to cut down 5 trees in our backyard, I would rather do that than a butter knife, than a sharp knife, or even than an axe.
Or an axe.
Or a chainsaw. If you ever cut down a tree with a chainsaw, man, it's super easy. And it's a great tool for the job. To be honest, it's the best tool that's ever been invented for that job. And the fact of the matter is, credit card tool is a great tool in a lot of ways if you can use it safely, not chop off a limb. Again.
Or someone else's limb.
Yeah. So that's how I think about it. And I think that's a good way to kind of think about it.
Right.
If you were curious. Now, I know a lot of you listening, it's like you're adults like us. You've lived a lot of life and you've seen and you already have decided I am using them, I'm not using them, whatever. That's fine. But out of all of that, we decided, again, 7 years out of our marriage, where let's create some rules to use these credit cards in a way that are going to benefit us and not be a hindrance to us.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about today. Like, what are these rules? Again, and this is directly out of our book. I don't remember what chapter it's in, but you can go dig in more in there if you want to find out more about it. But we'll go over the basic rules, and so you can apply them and run with them. And so since we started following these rules, we haven't paid a single dime of interest to the credit card companies. As much as I can remember, I think over all these years, that's what it's about. That's the goal, is to minimize ever having to pay credit card interest. We haven't blown our budget with a credit card. We haven't had, I don't think we've had any money fights over our credit card spending since this happened.
True. Yep.
And then on the plus side, we've gotten probably well over $10,000. Honestly, I think it's closer to 15 at this point of free travel rewards by using the credit cards.
That's what I'm talking about.
And the reason I say that is because occasionally I will hear people who say that there's actually not, credit card rewards just aren't that good and it's just not worth it and whatever. And the only people who say that are the ones who don't know which cards to use. And so I say that, with respect, but
with respect,
it's just absolutely true. Like, there are so many different credit card rewards programs that most people just don't understand this. They haven't spent the time to research this or whatever else. And so you will have one program where it's like you'll spend $3,000 a month on that card for an entire year and you'll get the equivalent of a free toaster or something like that.
Right.
And it's like, oh, that's nice. But that's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
That's not worth it. But on the other hand, like, we have had, single credit cards that we've opened that have provided us a 10-day free vacation.
Yeah.
But just by opening the credit card, not to mention the spending throughout the rest of the year, which resulted in multiple other free vacations or free trips or, flights or whatever the thing might be. And so, in our preferred thing is to use the credit card points for travel. But if you're not someone who doesn't want to travel, like, at the same time, there's a lot of great ways to convert that to cash back or to actually buy things on Amazon or 100 other different rewards you can get. So it's not just about travel. That's just what we do, So with all that said, I think we should dive into these. And so
Let's dive in.
First rule is not to use your credit card for discretionary expenses.
Yes. I mean, it's just so easy to get yourself in trouble.
If
you're like, well, I'll just buy these shoes, on the credit card.
Yeah, and this is
17 times throughout the month.
I think this is the one that is probably most challenging of the three rules. Like, this is the one that I think most people listening would struggle with or feel like, that's too extreme. But essentially what this means for us is we don't buy groceries on the credit card. We don't buy areas where we're tempted to overspend.
Right.
So Linda's not going to buy clothes on the credit card.
I'm not buying clothes on the credit card.
I'm not going to buy whatever the thing is, household items that we need or stuff on Amazon or whatever. Like, in general, like, that's not what we're spending on a credit card. Now, what we are putting on there are bills each month when we have to pay our bills.
Right.
Or if we are giving to our church or other organizations, sometimes we will do it through our credit card for the purpose of getting points. And yes, I know that they have to pay a fee, so sometimes we offset that, make your own decision there. But the point is, we are using the credit card for things where there's no temptation to overspend. Okay, so Bible verse that comes to mind is make no provision for the flesh. That's what it is. And again, knowing and understanding that they are dangerous, this is the equivalent of us, wearing some sort of body armor or something that even if we do make a mistake, we're additionally protected from that chainsaw.
Yes.
Does that make sense? So that's the first rule, is that right there. And
and all these things that we are using the credit card for, we know we have the money to pay for it. Like, that's the other thing.
Yeah, the money's sitting there.
The money is sitting there. So when you say we're paying our bills or we're paying it's not because we are using it because we're just hoping we can pay our bills. It's the money that we have sitting there. We're just taking advantage of the point system. And that's how we're doing it. then the money is sitting there to pay for the thing. It's already in our possession, right?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the month, we pay bills once a month with our kind of system that we have set up. And so we'll get paid because we get paid once a month. That's why we have it set up. So we get paid, money comes in, and then we go ahead and pay the bills. And so if all the bills for the month are whatever, $2,000 or 20, whatever it is, let's say it's $2,000. So I'll go through, pay all those, get them all paid up, and then we just pay them all on the credit card, and then we go immediately pay off the credit card. And so it's just on and off. And so there's no temptation, there's nothing there, but at the same time, we are continuing to rack up and accrue more and more points that we can use for different things.
Right. And we are still building our credit the right way.
Yeah. I mean, we're well past that at this point.
We're above that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is a side note. I'll just go down, but
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, just in terms of the credit score thing, like I just saw the stat the other day. People think the average American thinks that the best way to prove, I think it's you're financially successful or something is by your credit score or something like that, which I and any other person who understands is like laughing at that because it's hilarious. The whole credit scoring system is just it's a system that we as believers, really, none of us need to be part of. Like we're choosing by our actions, by the way that we are a society of debt, we're choosing that we want to be part of this system. And once you break out of that, you can laugh at the credit score system. And I remember hearing someone say that they had the money available to buy an apartment complex with cash, but because they weren't playing with the system, their credit score was not good, and therefore they could not rent an apartment in the apartment complex that they could buy with cash.
Buy the whole thing with cash.
And that's the thing. It has nothing to do with your financial acumen. It's how much money can they make off of you. And so they want to know, A, you're going to pay your debts off, like when you borrow, which makes sense. But at the same time, they want to make sure you are going to borrow. Because if you're not a borrower, like you're not playing by their rules, and therefore they're not going to make much money off you. So you're not going to have a great credit score.
Right.
Or as good of a credit score, if that makes sense.
Which is fine.
Anyway, so yes, like once we became 100% debt free, it's like, I'm done. I'm out. I walk away from your game. I don't care about your game. You can keep your stinking credit score game.
Right.
And again, and I know that this took us a long time to get to that point to be able to, give a gentle wave to FICO and everybody else with that. But
what a nice way to put it.
Yeah, but but the point is that this is possible, and I honestly believe that this is God's best. It's for us to break out of this world system of debt. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah,
it's like God was talking to the Israelites and said, "Listen, I don't want you to be borrowers. I want you to be lenders."
Yeah.
I don't want you to be borrowers. I want you to be lenders.
Amen.
So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's be in that position to be able to do that. And, and so I've talked about this before. I'll get off the soapbox for now. But the point is, I just want you to know that's possible to break out of that system and to never have to think about your credit score again.
Yes.
And that's a cool place to be. All right. Rule number 2, don't ever carry a balance from month to month. Or also what that means is pay off your balance every single month. Okay. Now, I remember this. I mentioned this in the book, but there's a rule among the self-defense crowd because I was, at some point studying self-defense a little bit, and I'm not enough, so don't come attack me. But anyway, I remember reading one of the common rules among that community is the best way to win a fight is to avoid it at all cost. Okay?
I think Michael Jackson sang about this.
He did. How did that song go?
Beat it. Beat it. No one wants to be defeated.
Show him what? Something?
Show him how funky, strong is your fight. It doesn't matter. They're all going to have to listen to this now.
Yeah. Go back and watch the video for fun, too. But anyway.
And then learn the dance.
I do remember a little bit of that dance. I don't know why. Yeah, something about the arms going up.
You think you can do it?
I don't know.
You could do it.
No, not well enough. Anyway, so with this concept, this idea of avoiding the fight at all costs, that's what we're trying to do here. And by carrying a balance, we have to pay interest each month. Okay. And so all of the rewards, all that stuff, it makes no sense. It's a net negative to you if you are paying interest each month. But if every single month you pay off that balance, it's like we don't have to pay any interest. And so we can use this tool for free. And that's the goal. How do we use this tool that is created for us for free, for our advantage?
Well,
okay.
yeah, not even just for free. It pays you. It ends up paying you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If you do it right, you do it well, you can benefit significantly. So, and that kind of leads to the third rule.
Leads to number 3.
Which is to make sure you're actually using a good card. Because again, so many people I often find are using credit cards that they signed up for when they were 18 in college, and they got because somebody gave them a free T-shirt, and they've been using the same card for 15 years. And that is not how you pick a credit card.
Right.
And so I
know Target is always like, "Do you want to open a credit card?" I'm like, "Nope." Are you serious? No, I don't.
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, like the difference between the different rewards programs, it's so night and day. It's not like 2 times better. It's like 10 times better or 20 times better. Like it's just such a big deal. And most people don't understand this. And so point is, if you're going to use a credit card, if you decide, yes, I'm going to use a credit card for my family, or we are already using one, like find one that actually will benefit you significantly. Okay. So if it is cashback that you want, find a good one for that. If it is, you're looking for something where you can get a 0% intro rate. So if you have 3 credit cards and you're trying to pay them off and they're all charging 15 or 20%, you can transfer those balances to one that is a 0% that might last for 12 months or 18 months. And so you can save a lot of money by doing that. Like we did that when we were paying off our debt. I took all of our credit card debt, I even took our car loans, transferred them all to 0% credit cards. And we saved thousands of dollars doing that.
That was a risky one. I was like, are you sure?
Well,
and it did end up working out really well.
The thing about it, though, is it wasn't really that risky.
It felt risky to me.
It's bold because it's not that common. But like in a lot of ways, it's actually safer. The risk is that, if we weren't able to get in our 0% card and didn't get it all paid off in the 18 months. But at the same time, like the credit card company wasn't going to take our car.
Yes.
If we stopped paying the bank, they were going to take our car and our car would be gone. So in some ways that's more risky. Anyway.
Right. Well, one other thing I want to throw in there, because I said that thing about the Target card, and I feel like you've taught me this before. What
did I teach you, Grasshopper?
It was something that I just didn't know. Like, you go to these stores. Like, the thing with Target is they're like, well, you get discounts on certain things or, whatever. But when I look at how much I'm spending at Target, I'm not spending enough there that it's going to make it worth it for me to have the temptation to overspend.
Yep.
And then also, what are they going to give me? Just like a little bit. Like, they're not giving me enough back for it to make it worth it. And so, so for us, like that is one way we make decisions, or a decision is like, if I go to American Eagle, there you go. And they're like, if you open a credit card,
you go to American Eagle and they say, are you shopping for your daughter?
You get 10% back. Shut it. Do you get 10% back? You get to save 10%. So really, I'm buying $60 worth of clothes. That means they're going to give me $6 to open a credit card. And then now I have this continual temptation of overspending.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you have to think about it that way of like, what is actually 10% and is it worth it? And maybe it's worth it one time and then you never use it again. You put it, remember the Shopaholic movie? Did you ever see that? She would freeze her credit cards in a block of ice that's like, like the size of a cooler, so that it would be like she really wouldn't spend on it unless she absolutely had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do something like that where it's like you put it out of sight, out of mind so that you can't actually spend on it.
I think just chop it up, but oh well. So
sure.
I want to take a couple minutes real quick. So if you are looking for a new credit card, I want to give you a few different things to consider, or these are points that I consider. So the first thing that I'm looking for is, what is the annual fee? Okay, on the credit card. So I would say the average annual fee on most credit cards is $99, somewhere around there. So about $100 a year to have the credit card. Now, some of them have zero annual fee, and some of them I've seen as high as like $500 or $1,000 for some cards with a lot of perks. But $99 is probably average. Okay, so all things being equal, I'd rather have a $0 annual fee. But some of them Like I think our main card is a $95 annual fee, and it is well worth it. Like,
Whoa.
is that it's just worth it. It's just
Okay, got
absolutely
it.
worth it for us. Is that enough, Wills? And so anyway, so that's the first thing I'm looking at. Second thing, if I'm trying to transfer balances over, I want to see what the balance transfer fee is. Okay, so this is how much you have to pay to transfer the balance from one card to another. Okay, so if you had a credit card with, say, a $5,000 balance and they were charging you 25% on that card,
Ugh.
you can find another card, like we're saying, that has a promotional offer of 0% that might last for 12 months or 18 months. Okay, and so the balance transfer fee is normally 3% on a lot of cards. And so what that means is that you're going to have to pay 3% of that $5,000 balance in order to transfer it to that card. Okay, so 3% of $5,000 is $150. Okay, so it would cost you $150 to transfer that $5,000 balance to a 0% card, but you're going to come out way ahead. Having 0% for 12 months or 18 months, you're going to save way more than $150 for doing that.
Right.
So that's the kind of the second thing to look for. Third thing is your APR, your annual percentage rate. Okay, this is the interest that you're paying on it. In general, lower is better. I'd prefer lower is better. But again, if you follow these 3 rules that we're talking about, it doesn't really matter. And again, like I never look at this when we look at credit cards because I don't care because we're not going to be paying it. We're not going to be paying it. Now, if you want to be super cautious and like think, worst case scenario, maybe I would have to pay it. Sure, like keep that in mind. But again, like I don't ever plan on paying it. And if I get myself into a pickle, we have an emergency fund that, hopefully will cover whatever we need. So we don't need to have a credit card as backup for that. Emergency fund makes more sense. It's better security than having a credit card in your pocket, Next thing is the earning rate. Okay. And this is a rate at which you earn rewards. Okay. So 1 point per dollar spent or 1 mile per dollar spent is pretty common. But the kicker on this is where most people don't understand how all this works, is that the value of the points for different programs vary a whole lot. And so you can have 100 points over at Amex versus 100 points in the Chase Ultimate Rewards program, 2 different programs, and they're going to be so vastly different in what you can do with them.
Right.
And one of them is going to go so much further than the other. And so... So that's why this matters a lot.
Right.
So even though they might be paying the same rate, of 1 point per dollar, if it's not the same currency isn't valued at the same thing, then it doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Right. So if yes, this is why we've been able to travel so much for free, and we're talking hotels and flights.
Yeah. If you want to read, we have an article about this that you can read our entire system, and we should probably turn this into some sort of course or ebook or something. But for now, it's just a free article on our site, and it lays out our entire system, exactly how we've done this, and really how simple it is. And so you can just go to seedtime.com/free-travel.
Yeah, and I will say we have a friend who has worked the point system so much that she is paying for her family of 5 to take a European vacation.
Yeah.
And she has been planning this for a while, where she's like, ooh, I'm going to do this. And every time she would see that, you could earn, can't you earn like triple points on some things, some purchases? She'd be like, okay, how can I work that out? So she was really strategic with how she did it. And she's taking her family. That's a lot. That's super expensive. A family of 5 on a European vacation, she's not paying for it.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Which is just...
Yeah,
huge.
and that's what's possible. I think most people don't realize, and I think...
Well, I think they do realize it, which is why they sign up. They just don't understand how to do it.
Well,
and
no,
how to
but
keep themselves out of trouble.
There's plenty of people who don't realize that that's possible.
Okay.
And they think,
right, sure.
So there's some of both.
Some of both.
But anyway, the other part of this, like you might be listening to think I'm sure that's a whole lot of work, and you got to open 50 cards, and you got to go over here to buy this. And I don't do any of that.
Yeah.
Like our approach is very much the 80-20 approach. Like
Minimalist.
I opened 34 different credit cards to find the best one so that I don't have to think about this anymore. And
you're welcome.
And so
I told you have a Bob. See, this is it. This is what I'm talking about.
But my point is that I don't want to do a lot of work. Like I want this to be easy. And so we found that sweet spot where we can maximize the benefits. And sure, like we could be doing more work. And I have some friends who will spend 5-10 hours a week nerding out on stuff, and they earn more points than we do, and that's fine.
Sure, and that's
if
fine.
you're like that, you can do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want to make it as simple as possible. I have to think as little as possible and get the maximum amount of benefit from it. And we found that. And if you go check out that article, that'll lay that out really well for you. SeedTime.com/free-travel. We'll have a link in the description if you want to check it out. But last thing that I check when I'm looking for a credit card is the sign-up bonus. Okay, so many cards offer sign-up bonuses. It's pretty common, typically 20 to 50,000 points, and they often have spending requirements in order to get that. So you might have to spend $4,000 in the first 3 months on the card or something in order to be eligible for the bonus. But again, these bonuses are huge because, as you'll see if you go read that article, like we have had... like I said, entire vacations covered just by the bonus alone.
Bonus. Yep.
But that is completely depends on what type of card it is, what program it is. So it just makes such a big difference what cards you're using. And so as far as like, I don't want to get, I can't get into specific recommendations on here because there's compliance guidelines about what we can and cannot say and whatever. So I don't want to get in trouble with that. So I can't really mention the cards that we use. But if you go to seedtime.com, you can go to the free travel article or go to seedtime.com/cc and you can see our top recommendations, the cards that we like, that we're actually using, and why we're using them. And you can go from there if you want to find out more about all that.
There you go.
Anyway. So I want to talk a little bit about, because this whole series, we're talking about why, this being a checklist to us reach our biggest financial goal of giving away $1 million by age 40. That was the thing that for us was this goal we wanted to reach that was driving us in so many different ways. And so I think there's a really good valid question of like, well, how did this play into that? And so again, like I did a little back of the napkin math, like kind of thinking through this a little bit. And the average American has, I just looked this up the other day, it's like $7,900 of credit card debt right now.
Gosh.
Okay. That's like the average American who is not paying off their balance every month. So that's normal. Okay. Having about $8,000 of credit card debt and not paying it off each month. So that means you're paying interest each month. Okay. And so over the last, if we go back the last 15 years that we have been doing this, and I take that average of how much interest we would be paying if we just would have been normal and all those things, like we would have saved somewhere from $15,000 to $20,000 in interest just over those 15 years.
Whoa.
Okay. So that right there, like that's a significant amount of money that we didn't have to spend. And this was our motivation all along. It's like, I remember just being blown away at how much money we were paying towards credit cards on interest and just thinking, man, if we didn't have to pay them, like, what could we do with that? Like, we could just give that to organizations who want it.
Just give it.
And so just right there, we were able to transfer 5 figures towards organizations that we wanted to give. Didn't affect our lifestyle at all. We just stopped paying Chase and Visa and MasterCard and whoever. And now just take that money and give it, But then on top of that money saved on interest, again, like I was saying before, we've probably had $10,000 to $15,000 worth of free travel just from the rewards on top of this. So that's also money that we didn't have to spend on travel. Now, we weren't able to give that per se, but like we're probably able to give more because we were going to do some travel anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, we have given a bunch of, like, we've purchased flights for other people and hotel rooms for other people. We've used that as seed to sow.
Yeah, the number of people that we've been able to send on trips with our points, because we haven't just been able to use them on ourselves. Like that's been an opportunity to give, which I didn't even think about. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say, this isn't like the biggest needle mover towards reaching our goal, but it was definitely helpful. Yeah. And it definitely moved us in the right direction.
Right.
Because we had these 3 rules in place. Had we not had them in place, I think we would have been paying interest, or if we would have just had a debit card and not, we wouldn't have been getting the reward. So either way, this just helped us get closer towards it.
Sure.
So that's why it's on the list. For anybody who's wondering, like, why,
There you go.
So anyway, so your homework out of all of this is if you don't use credit cards, that's great. We're not telling you to use them.
Right.
If debit cards are working for you, stick with that, do that. But if you do, take a little time, evaluate your credit card, make sure you're, using one that's rewarding you, and look at the other two rules and strongly consider adapting those into your life. And even if you are carrying imbalance at this moment, let's pray. Let's believe God to get that thing paid off so that you don't have to carry balance from month to month, because you're going to save so much money if you just start getting that thing paid off and are not paying interest to the card companies each month, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, so is that good homework?
Let's do it.
Is that good homework?
Yes,
I think that's good homework. So if you're married, talk to your spouse. If you're not, well, either way, talk to the Lord. But let's make that some homework for this week.
Yeah.
And one last thing, if we can ask a favor, if you enjoyed this episode or any other episode, would you do us a favor and tell someone about it? Share it with them, send them a text, send them a message on Instagram, let them know.
Write us a review.
A review is always helpful as well.
Would be helpful. Yes.
But anyway, we appreciate you. We value you. Thanks for coming to hang out with us. And we pray blessing over your finances. And we're actively praying for you, just so you know. You're part of the SeedTime family and community, and you're on our prayer list. We really appreciate you. Have a great one. See ya. This is what Sarah had to say about our book, Simple Money, Rich Life.
See this book? Go buy it. Simple Money, Rich Life. Please go buy it. I am 3 chapters in, you guys, and I am mind blown. I'm not kidding you. Go and get this book. I love it so much. I'm almost in tears over here, you guys.
And did you know that you can get a copy for free?
You can get it on Amazon, but we so believe that the church needs this message that if you can cover shipping, we'd love to cover the cost of the book and send you a free copy.
All you need to do is go to seedtime.com/free to get yours.